María Elena is a passionate biologist. She's been working in herpetology for 34 years and has done all kinds of things from working with snakes in captivity to looking at snake bite treatment, venom research, a ton of environmental education, and coexisting with venomous snakes. And, you know, for us, I feel like we have it pretty easy for talking about coexisting with snakes locally because compared to venomous snakes around the world, like the venom of snakes in the US is like kind of weak. We don't have super dangerous snakes. That is not the case where she lives. And I'm guessing that also a lot of your work is like pretty far from medical treatment. So like a whole different ball game for coexisting with venomous snakes than like what we get here. She has undergraduate degrees in biology and the management of endangered species. She also has a master's in environment and education for sustainability. She started as a volunteer, but is now currently the executive director for the Gustavo Orces Herpetological Foundation, which is the first institution in Ecuador that is devoted to reptile and amphibian studies. How cool is that? And like advocates for snake preservation, she's super focused on education as a tool for human snake conflict and snake bite prevention. And she does a lot of work in the indigenous communities around where she lives. And tonight she is going to talk to us about her exciting new-ish project on coexisting with Bushmasters. Jump right in there, Maria. So glad to have you tonight.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Jeff, for just creating this space to share not only our job, but our passion to work with these amazing animals and just to have the opportunity to share with the amazing audience that is there. And I hope I'm going to be able to just tell you a little bit about my job here in Ecuador, South America. So coexisting with the Wascama, that is the local name for Bushmaster in the area I'm working with, Wascamas in the Northwestern Ecuador. So a little bit of background. I don't know what's going on to pass okay. So we have 256 species of snakes. Ecuador has 19% of the snake biodiversity of the American continent, and also 8% of the world's total snakes. How amazing is that? Our geographical location is just the answer why we are located in a perfect place to find snakes. Just coming to the equator, you will find the highest biodiversity of snakes in the world. And this is how I am just amazed of this biodiversity. If you look at this, just look at how tiny is our country, the size of Nebraska state, which is 283,561 square kilometers compared to how huge is your country, for example, and look at how we have 18 species of viperids compared to 24 that you have in your country. So that is amazing information that I want to share with you. And at the same time, and in contrast to this high biodiversity of snakes, they are also facing a lot of threats. Snakes from the Viperidae family are responsible of 80% of snakebite accidents in Ecuador. Data collected from 2000 to 2014 reports 6,000 cases of snake bites in Ecuador, and data from indigenous communities are not in this report. There are species that represents medical importance, such as Bothrops atrox in the Amazon, Bothrops asper in the coast, Botryechis bilineatus, which is a arboreal one, Bothrops taeniata, another from the Amazon, and of course, Lachesis, two species, one from the Amazon, and the species that I'm studying right now from the Western Ecuador. If you just check this, we are part of the Chocoan region that involves three countries, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador. And in contrast with this amazing biodiversity, is one of the hotspots of biodiversity in the world. Unfortunately, this area is at the same time facing tremendous impact from logging, mining, and the increasing of the agriculture areas for cattling and crop cultivation. That is how we need to understand that coexistence with these snakes are just increasing in number right now. So I'm going just to provide the picture of what the species I'm working with is within the the biggest snakes from the Viperidae family in the world. They are snakes that reach almost 3.6 meters. Two species are in Central America. One species, the Muta in the Amazon, and the Bushmaster Lachesis acrocorda on the Northwestern Ecuador, which is in this part of this. So according to IUCN, this is recorded and registered as a vulnerable snake, which means that we still need some data from the wild that it doesn't exist. And I'm just starting to compile, checking bibliography, comparing with other colleagues. However, it's still not too much information. And unfortunately, how this animal is ending the days is like that. It is so sad to find every time, every week, animals about this size dead. Most part of the time are animals that are after 8-10 years that are just killed in the areas that people is living or on the roads, same. And this is just not possible that populations can support this, as well as the habitat deforestation and so. So that is why this project is just giving us a lot of challenges. As you can see, this is the first project in its kind in Ecuador to use radio telemetry. That is why it's really important to share information with colleagues from over the world, just because we need to avoid mistakes. Even so, this is one of the most tough snakes to work with. It's really sensitive. They don't tolerate too much the captivity. And we are just trying to understand how they behave with the management and the manipulations we need to do. There is no snake ecology project similar done in the past in this species. We do have a similar or sister species in the Amazon in Brazil done, and also in two species in Central America, in Costa Rica, but this is the first doing in Ecuador right now. So it's a lot to learn. And also how sensitive this animal is just providing a lot of risks when we need to handle and keep the animal in captivity. So coming to Ecuador, the black dots in this picture are showing areas where our organization was carrying out research in the last 20 years. And the orange is just a mathematical model to show where the animal can be found, considering areas where the habitat is just okay for them to be. So you can see that they are called mute rattlesnake, bone-tail, wascama, verrugosa. That is how local people refer to this snake. And interestingly, the name Lachesis from the Latin is one of the three fates in Greek mythology that is the sister of Clotho and Atropos. And Lachesis derives from the verb meaning, that is the fate who determines the length of life. And that is why people is really scared about snakes, because in some situations, of course, it's a very huge animal, but they relate how venomous it is and how big they are. And of course, one bite of these animals can be just fatal for human beings. And that is why we need to understand and the reality of populations coexisting and living with these species as well. So it's the only viper in the neotropics that lay eggs. And the data that we have is that females can build a nest that sometimes male can take care of. No reproductive biology studies have been carried out to understand the behavior and how they show parental care or not. That is something that we just have scarce information about that. And my dream is to just find a nest in this study. I hope so. So the methodology for this study, the study started in December 2023. We are just 6 months. It's a lot of information, a lot of good things, a lot of bad things as well, but we are just learning and starting from scratch in some situations. I am planning to study 5 specimens from December 2023 to June 2026 to put radio telemetry in 5 individuals. Field work is carried out from 8 to 11 a.m. every day over 365 days per year, and from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Some exceptions can be during to heavy rain or some not good health of the researchers, and we collect data in data sheets that are standardized to know what data exactly we are compiling. And my objectives are to be able to understand the habitat use of these species, how to make a reaction assessment in terms of how they react in the presence of prey or not in presence of prey, and also forest preferences. And you will see at the end of this talk how interesting information we are compiling. The area of the research is that spot surrounded by the red circle here, but also in the map in the left, you can see the area is a reserve, is a private reserve that kindly accept myself and my group of researchers to go there and study the most venomous snake in Ecuador. So they were scared as well, because they are receiving researchers from all over the world to do research in other different taxa there. So my project was to actually study the snakes and find them. And of course, it was increasing the risks for staff members from the research to actually also be suffering a snake bite. So that was the big challenge to, and why the research accept me was just something really nice. And I need to be really thankful for accepting me. So at the beginning, look at the dots here, where they were data collected in the reserve of snakes occurrence in the Lachesis acrocorda. So for me, that was, wow, that's a lot. And I need to go to that reserve to work. And yes, that is an amazing primary forest area to study. Then the area has a lot of trails by which researchers can go there and research many different types, like plants, bats, mammals, birds, but no snakes. And of course, the challenge was where I'm going to release the animal. So we decided to release in this spot in the low part of the map to avoid too much interaction with other kind of research. So to avoid potential snake bites with the staff members, which was an agreement. And also we start on how the area of study looks like is like that. Can you imagine finding a Bushmaster there? So it's really, really challenging. No chance to find them at all. And temperatures, just to let you know, look at April and May, where an interesting decrease in temperature and corresponds May and April to months that most of the snakes are in mating season or some others are in breeding. So these are data collect recently, and this is interestingly why we found a very nice information that I'm going to share in a minute. Then we put a radio transmitter in one female. It was a translocation. This female belongs not to the reserve, but to another reserve that helped us to save this snake. It was going to kill. They called me and I just said, please do not. And I had her in captivity for 5 years, and she was like 1 meter 78 centimeters, female. I kept her in captivity since 2019, and her weight was 2.9 kilograms. So she moved from the other reserve to the reserve that I'm currently carrying out my research. So data from captivity and wild snakes have been collected for at least 15 years, and we evaluate also diseases, behavior, reproductive development in terms to know at what age snakes, female snakes, can develop the ovaries and the sacs if they are in good conditions or not. And that means also to ask for friends and colleagues to help us with echosonography and some other things that I don't have, and I need to share hospitals, vet hospitals, to be able to carry out these things. And according to our data, look at this, that female lachesis were found to have babies in May and December, mating, and in December babies. And September, female with embryos as well. So that data is helping us to understand how they can be moving and using the space in the forest. But this is the literature we need to prove now in the territory with that snake. And also some 11 eggs were found in a female that is a report from a Colombian Lachesis acrocorda that was wild caught, and they released some eggs in captivity. And that is the only information we have about reproductive behavior. And also there is a not published data when I had 28 eggs of a female that unfortunately died in captivity in my collection many years ago. So now, going to the reserve was the challenge to work with the staff in the reserve to train them and avoid snake bites first, and then be like not frightened about snakes. They were just very, very with a lot of concerns and nervous about having that snake. And also I invite colleagues that were completely open to help me to put the radio transmitters, and one of those is Dale Denardo, who accepted to come down to Ecuador and help me with that, and doing that in the field. I could not manage this in a facilities. I need to carry out that in a reserve conditions. And as you understand, that can be a lot of issues around, but that was perfect. And he was doing a great job putting an ATS R1545 radio transmitter of 25 grams, and is going to last for at least 2 years. And we hope to get that out of the animal when we are going to get enough data, plus a data logger to know and understand if actually the snake temperature is according to the environmental temperature that we think it is, but we are going to see if that is happening. So the training sessions start a long time before actually the release. These are the sessions with the community around the reserve to actually let them understand prevention, how we are going to manage protocols to actually manage the event of a snake bite, because they were so scared of myself doing that work. And these are data working not only in the reserve, but in the area around to understand. And that was for these people the first time that they actually touch the terrible Bushmaster in their entire life. That changed their minds forever. That is something you cannot imagine. And I agree with Melissa, when we are putting all of our efforts in education, even though we are going to see the results in at least 3 generations from now, that is the only possible solution to change our attitudes and beliefs about snakes. So we need to keep going and keep working. That is it. So also look how I'm putting the snake into the cage when we are going to keep her in semi-captivity. And after that, we were going to carry out the procedure of the radio transmitter. So that is the box that we keep in the reserve to keep the animal and show everybody how to manage, how to put her in a box, how animals are reacting against humans. They think they follow people and kill us. That's the only argument they have. And I was proving that it's not true. So now other work, outreach and education in the surrounding communities about schools, how to avoid snake bites. This is also carried out not only because of the project, but it's part of my project done for the entire Ecuador, which is so busy sometimes because sometimes I need to move and travel all over the country. But I mean, it is something that is worked in the favor of snakes. But also another aspect that is really important that I consider is very, very interesting, how our pre-Hispanic cultures are including the view of snakes in a positive way, and how we can reconnect communities with this ancestral vision of snakes. And guess what? All of the pre-Hispanic cultures, these are replicas, of course, but they are resembling snakes in a positive way. And I would like to invite many people to understand and just get involved in this amazing anthropological, psychological aspect that is also amazing. But I don't think I have the time to concentrate in that as well. But I mean, it's just amazing, but I mean, it's too much. And we do concentrate on things that we can do. But it's just the door open from any interest in carry out. So evidence of representation of a snake in ceramics, in culture, in different cultures in Ecuador is just important, and we need to consider this when we are educating communities. Just some results is that after 3 weeks, when we release that female, another specimen appears 150 meters away from the female, and the other specimen appear 100 meters away. So that means that probably the smell of her called this. We don't know if they are males or females, but that's interesting. And that is how we are compiling that information. Unfortunately, this is a male that it was not in the weight that we were thinking. It was a potential radio transmitter individual. I bring him to captivity, 6 hours driving from the reserve. Unfortunately, you know that animals, snakes in particular, they can be immunodepressed because of the captivity, and he died. But he gave and provided amazing information, like he gave in a feces some spines from a porcupine, a kind of porcupine. Look at the pictures showing the spines, big spines. I'm working with some mastosologists in order to see exactly the species. Even that some of the data provided, but some other authors tell us that some echimid rats are part of the diet of lachesis, some rice rats. some spiny rat, some black-tailed hairy dwarf porcupine. But these species listed are not occurring in the area of the reserve. So we need to figure out what species is that. So imagine that information. And also some other information about the diseases, internal worms that this male was infested. And of course, because of the immunodepression, all of these start reproducing as much as they can. Unfortunately, the animal die. And look, we do have these worms in order to work with some people working with parasites in snakes to just guess what kind of diseases they can be having. Okay. And now I have a snake number 3, which is a young female that I bring to captivity. Is a small female that I need to let her grow. It's going to grow like in 2 or 3 years. I see she's growing, she's okay, she's doing great. And I hope she's going to be a good candidate for the radio transmitter in 3 years from now. And results from her, from this young animal, is again that she has an infestation of Porocephalus, which is already published in some papers. Now, the nice and things that I like to share with you to avoid you getting bored with the data and the too much scientific things that, yes, we need them, but look at that. Videography is just appearing there. I was not thinking about videography, but it is just a tool, and we were putting camera traps, and look how this Bushmaster react to the armadillo. Look. The question is why she didn't bite him. Why not? Another one, passing a tigrillo in front of her, and she's not even doing nothing. Next, look at this sloth in the left. Is coming down to pee and poo. And look at her here, just smelling, just interacting with him in the middle of the forest, not biting. But look right now when she needs to bite. Look at that. A small motion, wham, to the agouti. And the day after, agouti is coming back to harass my lachesis. But she's not biting. So just things like that, we need to show to the students, to communities, to stop thinking that Bushmaster bite and kill you. They are not. Just the agouti, even though that just tell us that they don't eat big prey, this is a huge agouti, and I don't understand why she bite. So another pictures, look at here, I don't know if it's clear, is the female eating. Another is yawning. And she's another false coral passing in front of her spot. And then, good news, in that picture, she's sharing space with another specimen that I hope is a male, and I hope she's pregnant. That is the temperature in the forest is 224 Celsius degrees. And that is the researcher. He is a guy from the Columbia University helping me as an assistant. This guy in the bottom is a staff member from the reserve who agreed to be part of the project, and I'm training him, and as well as another ones to keep going with the project when I am not going to be there, and I'm going to carry out some other projects. So they are going to be the ones to carry out the project if they are interested. So that is what I like, to leave that know-how in the community and make sustainable this project. So this is the results that showing the kernel density estimator, but this is with the correlated that show actually the way that this verrugosa is just moving in 6 months. Don't ask me too much about that because the student is in charge to tabulate all of this. So I don't know yet if it's good, it's bad, it's tiny, it's small. We need to compare with other lachesis. And also the movement in the time lapse, look, she moves until now. Oops, sorry. She moves in a from 2 hours. She's there. Sometimes she goes inside the hiding place. Sometimes she comes out. Normally, they move some days when the temperature comes down a little bit. Probably they are not snakes that like too much temperature. Some of the conclusions now is that, of course, technology can help us, myself, saving time. I couldn't imagine not doing that with the radio telemetry. Of course, that the risk to lose the animal is high, but no options. Data from one animal only can give us valuable information about natural history of the species. Data must be compared to establish similar patterns with similar species that allow us to establish more effective prevention programs to communities. We need more pathologists interested in snake biology, yes, in behavior, and to be able to structure conservation measures for them. This in the left is the FCAT staff. This in the right is the people working at the organization and working with in Quito with captive animals and saving me time when I am away, taking good care of the animals I'm bringing. And let me pass this video just to give you a picture of the area.
Chocó, Northwestern Ecuador is one of the most diverse regions in the world and is home to many endemic species. About a quarter of all plant species there are endemic, and in mountainous areas almost half. Approximately 13% of the vertebrate species are endemic, compared to other continental regions. The highest concentration of endemic birds is found there. And above all, the mountainous areas stand out for having the highest diversity of amphibians and reptiles in the world. The high endemism of the Chocó ecoregion is explained by the geographical separation created by the Andes Mountains, where the forest to the west of the Andes developed in a completely different way than the forest. We are happy to announce that we launched the Chocó Bushmaster project in December 2023. During the initial phase of the project, we plan to implant radio transmitters in 5 specimens of Chocó Bushmaster to track these species in Ecuador. The species ecology and behavior have not been studied extensively in the wild, and it is extremely challenging to keep and manage these species in captivity. Given the extent of habitat loss in the Chocó, there is an urgent need to collect data on the Chocó Bushmaster's natural history and conservation status. Understanding potential health-related threats with survival is also important as emerging diseases are affecting wide population of vipers all over the world and have become more prominent in recent years. The Chocó in Ecuador experienced some of the highest deforestation rates in the country. 98% of this rainforest has been cleared. With escalating rates of deforestation from unsustainable development and agriculture, it is only a matter of time before this critical forest is lost forever and the unique species that rely on it are faced with extinction. The time is now to get involved with this project so we can protect these reptiles and the habitat they call home. To get involved, please contact us. And thank you.
Okay. And thank you to many people, colleagues that helped me sharing information. telling me where I'm going to do mistakes, and all of the people that support this project. And here is a QR code if you like to take a picture and follow and share. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Melissa and Jeff, for giving me this space to share my job.